In today's video, we're going to look at section 6-4, solving compound inequalities. So now we're dealing with inequality again, so yes, there will be graphs. So a compound inequality is two inequalities together. There are two different types. There is one such as is intersection, that's with the word and. These can be combined, we'll talk about that in a little bit. When they're not combined, you see the word and then we have what we call a union, they have the word or. Those can't be combined because of the way the graph works. So, and again, you will see the word or. This is something we need to keep in mind because it gives us an idea of what our graph should look like and what our answers can be. Okay, so let's just graph. Now, to graph these, all we have to do is just graph them separately. So I'm going to graph, and I'm going to grab, now this is an and, so I'm just, but as long as I graph, so I'm going to graph the first one in red. So remember, you always got your arbitrary 0. So here's 0. All right, so now we got 3. It's open circle because there's no equal sign, and I'm going to graph. Follow the arrow because it's on the left. So that's just the red one. Now I'm going to do the second one. X is greater than or equal to -2. So I go to -2. Oh, I have just forgot to label the 3. So there we go. Okay, and then it's going to be a closed circle on -2, and then I follow the arrow again. So since it's an and, it's wherever the two colors overlap. So my final answer is actually what is between the two. Okay, so that it's what is shared from everything. Okay, anything that's overlapped. So that's what we're going to look at doing. So now, here's how we combine. If you have the same parts on the variable sides, we can combine them. Okay, so since this is the way, we can reverse one of these. Now, typically you want to reverse the smaller of the two. So -5 is smaller than +2. So we can take this whole thing and rotate it. Okay, we can take this whole thing and, spin it. So it becomes -5 is greater than x minus 4. And then we can take the second part and overlap it. So x minus 4 goes right on top. X minus 4, and we get is less than 2. Okay, so that's how they can be combined because it's overlapping parts. And now it should go, now if you read it, it makes sense. -5 is less than x minus 4, which is also less than 2. Okay, so that's how they can be combined, but only if that middle part is the same. All right, so now I got the problem. I showed how this problem was combined, so now let's solve. Solve -5 is less than x minus 4, which is less than 2. So what's great about when you have a situation like this, just like an inequality or an equation, what you do to one side, you do to the other. Well, now there's 3 sides, so what you do to one side, you do to all the sides. So if I go add 4 here, I need to add 4 here, and I also need to add 4 here on all 3 sides. So I get -1 is less than x, which is less than 2. Sorry, 6. I forgot to add my 4. That's my fault. All right, so now I have my number line. I'm going to create my number line. And now I put my points, so I got my 0. Now just make your points on the numbers. So I got 6 here. I got -1 here. And an open circle on both. And I graph between them because the variable is between the two. It is between the two numbers, so that's where it lies. And that's all there is. That is how you graph a compound inequality. Okay, let's do a couple more. Y minus 3 is less than or equal to -11, and y minus 3 is less than, or sorry, greater than -11, and y minus 3 is less than or equal to -8. Okay, so now I'm not going to combine these ones. I'm just going to do them separately. So +3 on this one, +3 here, +3 here, +3 here. Now I know there's separate equations, but I'm just doing each step. So I get y is greater than or equal to -8. And y is less than or equal to -5. So I'm going to graph. So here's 0. We got -5 here, -8. So I'm just doing different colors here. So -8, close circle, follow the arrow, graph. -5, close circle, follow the arrow, graph. And what's overlapped? So everything in black is overlapped. All right, so there we go. So there is my answer. All right, now the next one. 6 is less than or equal to r plus 7, which is less than 10. So I'm going to subtract 7 from all three sides. So I get -1 is less than or equal to r, which is less than 3. Okay, I'm going to run out of room here, but I'm going to just do a small one. Okay, so you can see how we save a little bit of room when we have a combined problem. So we got 0 here, 3, and -1. So now, okay, so on -1, I have a closed circle. On the 3, I have an open circle, and then I shade between the two. And there we go, we are done. Okay, so when they're combined, it's a little bit easier. All right, now let's do an OR one. Now these ones are separate. You can't really do much about them, so we solve them separately as is. So this one, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides first. Okay, so yep, -3h plus 4 is less than 19. Subtract 4, we get -3h is less than 15. Divide by -3, divide by -3. So we get 8. Oh, divide by negative, so we got to flip and get -5. Okay, next one, 7h minus 3 is greater than 18. So I'm going to add 3. So I get 7h is greater than 21. Divide by 7. Divided by 7, so I get h is greater than 3. Okay, well, this one's kind of nice. So let's graph. So now this one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to overlap. So I got 0. So -5 here. Open circle to the right. And everything there. And then I'm going to do h is greater than 3. So I do 3. Open circle to the right. And it doesn't matter if they're overlap or not. Most of the time they're not going to overlap. Most of the time they will be separate. Okay, but right there, that's my answer. I'm done. Okay, these happen to overlap. Most of the time they won't though. We'll see that in a follow-up problem. Okay, so here we go. A plus 1 is less than 4, or a minus 1 is less than 3. So I'm going to subtract 1 here. So I get a is less than 3. Next one, I'm going to add 1. I'm going to get a is greater than or equal to 4. So now, graph like normal, graph them separately. So let's start with your 0. All right, so 3, we have an open circle. Follow the arrow on this one. A is greater than or equal to 4. So 4, closed circle, follow the arrow. Okay, and typically that's how it's going to work out. And that's all it is. Okay, so ORs, they don't have to overlap. It's whatever shows up on the graph. That's all there is. Okay, so next one. Well, with the next one, x is less than or equal to 9. That one's done. That one's easy. That was super easy. We're done with that one. Okay, and now the next second one, we're going to 2 plus 4x. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So I get 4x is less than 8. Divide by 4. So I get x is less than 2. Okay, so make our graph. We got my 0, so we're going to start with our first one. X is less than or equal to 9, so here's 9. Close circle and follow the arrow in this case. There we go. And the next one, x is less than 2. So 2, open circle, follow the arrow. And again, this one actually overlaps, not a big deal, but that's all there is to it. We don't need any more, so there is our answer. I'm going to bring this down so I can box it in. And there we go. There's our answer.